Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first podcast. Today, we'll be talking about when schools should be reopening in California and also about Asian discrimination.
Our first topic is about schools reopening. For the past year, we have been under lockdown because of COVID 19. Part of the lockdown was the shutting down of schools. In order to keep us educated and safe, we have switched to an online learning system. But even as vaccines come out, we have no idea when we'll be able to go back to school in person again. So, when should schools reopen? These are the reasons that schools should open right now. First, it is difficult for students to manage their time by themselves with the workload that they're getting. Students in Georgetown University surveyed 1,500 students and found that the main problem that students had with online learning was time management. Time management is crucial for students because most students have a lot of work to do, and being overwhelmed will negatively impact students. Second, California State Health Department has provided guidelines for the reopening of schools. The set of guidelines include the spacing out of staff and students, the use of face masks, and a procedure for sanitizing that the staff and students at school have to follow. With these rules in place, schools in Los Angeles will be a safe environment for people attending them. Third, in-person learning is crucial for students' learning. Students listening to a lesson behind a screen not being able to interact with their teachers or peers makes it hard for them to learn material taught and or focus on the topic that is being taught. In addition, teachers cannot interact with their students, which means that teachers don't know which students are on top of the topic and which students are falling behind. Fourth, research done by the US National Library of Medicine proves that isolated teens studying at home are in risk of depression and anxiety. Studies show that more than 70% of teens interviewed stated that they have experienced an increase of stress and anxiety. In addition, too much time on a computer screen can cause someone to have a shorter attention span and can cause difficulty in focusing for teens. Lastly, COVID 19 does not have a big impact on students' health. Only an average of 0.04 students who were tested positive for the COVID 19 virus have died.
Well, these are the reasons why schools should not be opened right now. First, according to CA Public Health on Twitter, there were 10,500 new cases of COVID-19 in California on February 3rd of 2021. In a time where there are so many COVID cases, sending kids to school would bring horrifying results. Second, according to NPR, 77% of teachers and 62% of parents are reluctant to reopen schools. As a result, many teachers and students will not show up due to the fear of the virus, causing short-term chaos on campuses and deepening long-term educational problems, from enrollment collapses to teacher shortages. Third, although it is true that children are not as seriously affected by the virus, they can still spread diseases to their parents and their grandparents. So this 0.04% does not actually matter in the long run. Fourth, the estimated cost to reopen schools would be $1.77 million for every school district and $2,300 for each student. As there are 1,037 school districts and around 6.83 million students in California, we would be spending over $17.5 billion on schools in just California reopening. When there is not even a guarantee of a safe return, spending this huge amount of money just for one state is not effective. Finally, if schools try to reopen while following protocols including masks and social distancing, they would have to have high maintenance and they would not be able to hold class in the classroom. If they were to not follow the standard protocols, then it would be unsafe for students to return back to school. Today, our topic is when schools should be reopened. And the first question we would like to ask is, when do you think that schools should be reopened?
So I guess the question was, you think, when do you think it should be open? I don't, probably whatever their guidelines. Sorry, you're hearing my dog bark. The guidelines of, I think they want like what, 70% or so or more of the people vaccinated before they deem it safe enough, right? That for the general population.
So a second question is, do you think that the current online education system is effective? And do you think that going to school in person will give students an academic advantage over those who aren't?
It depends who you are. It depends if you already come from a place who gives you that support. So, I mean, it still affects in a negative way. I think being online just isn't the same. And when you're, the proximity, how close you are sitting towards the teacher, and all of that physical space and all of that being in the classroom, and just you being in a classroom with an authority figure, and you have no choice to put like any type of a block in front of your face, when you're on when you're face to face, that just puts you in a place where you're most likely going to be put in to be on your best behavior, right? But online, it's just I just feel like so many kids are like slipping through my fingers. I mean, I have no idea what's going on behind the camera. So even kids being just lazy and not doing their work, I mean, yeah, it is their fault. But under the circumstances, having the education being online like this is it's not making it easier for them. It's making them further, fall through the cracks, and then lose out on their opportunity to, continue their education and hopefully, continue into like college and get a degree and be able to get one of those higher paying jobs.
Yeah.
I see. So what are some things that the schools could do, or yeah, what are some things that the school can do to ensure that students are more focused? What do you think?
Um, it has to start in the home. A lot of times they don't have, like the parents don't know how to help them. And then, and at the same time, if they have to be at work the whole time, and then maybe they cannot even afford, private tutors. So I don't know. I mean, you know what? School does provide a lot, because I know that right now there are certain subjects that I know that they said they are providing like tutor time, like even one-on-one, even Zoom one-on-one tutoring. Like if you were to ask, like if my students were to call me or like contact me and say, Miss Kat, I'm really really lost in Korean right now. Can I have some of your conference time? I'll be like, absolutely. Come meet me at this time. Boom, let's meet on Zoom. I'm gonna give you one-on-one, um, you know, like time. And I've already done that with a couple of students. They don't reach out to me. I told them, you want to be able to pass, I'll help you do this. I'll literally hold your hand and guide you one, like time by time. But they don't reach out to me. So I don't know. It's like you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Okay, so I guess now the deeper question is, how can you help them so that they would, be more proactive for themselves? I don't know. I don't know if they just need a little bit more. Maybe they need like a mentorship program. They need somebody who can be um like a big brother, big sister type of thing.
You told us about like all the hardships about online learning and online school. Like we know that it's hard for us because of like we can't meet our friends and like we can't like interact with anyone and everything. And I've even heard from my teacher that we've interviewed. He's been telling us that he's doing fine, but he knows a lot of teachers that are actually like really struggling and like they just want schools to open right now. With COVID going around, do you think it's okay for schools to open like right now with like the safety procedures, 6 feet distance,
Oh,
hand sanitizer?
right
Yeah.
now, I really don't think so. So definitely after the summer, maybe next semester when we start in like August or September, I think that's a pretty feasible time. So I mean, I got vaccinated. I'm willing to go back. So, but I know that the school is getting all those classes ready as if we're ready to go back to hybrid, like go back to school as a hybrid model.
Yeah, so because we're unsure, we're in uncharted territories, it's not you think we should wait a little more until we're able to open up schools, right?
Yeah, because I think the end is almost in sight. In the future, it's kind of neat knowing that like, ooh, like now that people are used to being on Zoom more, like for instance, like having a meeting like this, it is quite convenient. You just set the time and meet each other, and then this almost as best as meeting each other in person, right? So there is some convenience, and definitely, I think the world has been like kind of shaken in a situation in a way that sometimes um, maybe we kind of left the old ways behind, and maybe there are certain things that we can keep online. So I think in that it probably brought at least some positive.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for letting us interview you today. Are there any final remarks you'd like to make for our viewers?
Not really, but I know that more people were affected emotionally. I think during the pandemic than we really think. Yeah, I know that I was affected. Like I was feeling like a lot of anxiety. I was feeling a lot of like depression,
Yeah.
and just on top of other stuff, like like I had to taking care of my elderly mom who's got like Alzheimer's and all that frustration and all of that.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, it's just a lot of things at once. But and then I know that other people probably have had it a lot worse than me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
true that
yeah.
like even us students, there's been a study made and it surveyed about 2,000 people and
Hmm.
75% of those 2,000 people reported that they've had an increase of stress and an increase of anxiety like due
Yeah.
to a lot of factors like worrying about COVID, not meeting their friends and yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're
All
all
right. Well, thank you so much for today.
Yeah,
you're
thank
Um,
you
welcome.
so much for taking your time to the interview. Can we have a brief introduction about you, like your name and how long you've been teaching for?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Garcia, or Thomas Garcia is my actual name. I have officially been teaching um, as a credentialed teacher for 1 year as of January 13th. Before my teaching credential, I have my bachelor's degree in material science engineering and chemical engineering, as well as I am a licensed engineer, but that
Oh,
didn't really work out.
I see.
So yeah, I'm teaching, but also turn I just really love teaching. So it's not that anything didn't work out, it's that this is honestly the most fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Um I mean, I have a lot of fun with it. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah.
So we're just gonna interview you on like whether or not you think school should be reopened.
Hmm.
So we'll get right into it. And first, when do you think school should be reopened, and what should happen before a safe return to school?
Ooh, so I mean, it's a complex question because if this was a perfect world where we didn't have to worry about childcare, we didn't have to worry about like literally any of the 100 million factors that are more than just school is a place for education, but also a place where students can socialize, they learn essential life skills, um, where it also is childcare. That's a big primary thing for a lot of people. Um, then I would say, without any of that, school shouldn't open until everyone, including students, is vaccinated and we have a vaccine approved for 16 and under. However, that is not feasible. So, what I would like to see is at least all staff vaccinated, and I would love to see everyone 16 plus who the vaccine has been approved for to be vaccinated as well, though I know that it's a bit harder. Um, Lower class sizes, not just hybrid learning, because hybrid learning isn't I don't believe it's going to help anyone the way it's currently modeled,
Mm.
because basically it becomes distance learning, except some kids are in class and on their computer while some kids are at home and on their computer. So I think hybrid learning only solves the issue of childcare and some of the social emotional health issues that we're having too. But will it actually slow the pandemic? I don't think it's better than staying home. I think that's kind of a larger issue. So when should schools be reopened? No clear answer. UTLA says that we are out of the purple tier and that all staff is vaccinated and safety guidelines are in place. So I guess I'll go with that. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I'm not confident. I think something that's going to be really important is something that I say a lot in class is being able to admit when you're wrong. I would love to admit that I'm wrong about my fears and my concerns for safety and that everything turns out all right. On the other hand, I would like districts, governments, like people in power to, if they see even a slight rise in COVID, admit that they were wrong and that we should leave too early. So I think being able to not only return to school, but be prepared to immediately leave school again should be something that is thought about. Like, we have to see when we're messing up. And if COVID numbers start rising, even though we have the vaccine out and it's awesome and it's working, it doesn't mean that as soon as we put a bunch of people in a closed room for extended time, like, right?
So do you think that if students like keep their masks on, social distance 6 feet, and have like a procedure of using hand sanitizer. Do you think still schools opening up would?
That is part of the UTLA guidelines
Yeah.
for setting up like part of the safety procedures. Sanitize, social distance, masks, all that stuff. And yeah, it helps.
Mhm.
But like studies still show that if you're in an enclosed room, it doesn't matter how much you hand sanitize, and it doesn't matter if you have your mask on or off.
Mhm.
Being in an enclosed room for extended periods of time are still going to be ways to transmit the virus, which sucks. Like, can we do outdoor school? Sure, but then like we don't have any of the tech we want to use. Um, it's one of those things that just becomes very logistically complex. And again, I don't have a clear answer. I don't know everything about the budget. I don't know everything about the pressure that districts are feeling from parents and from government and from policy. So I don't have a clear picture, and therefore I can't give a clear answer. And I think that's a big part about this. Nobody really has the full picture, and
Yeah.
the science is still coming. A lot of people don't see science in the making. Well, COVID gives us all a chance to see science in the making. And I'll be honest, a lot of people aren't happy about that. A lot of people want science to have the answers, and the truth is we don't yet. We don't have all the studies, we don't have all the peer reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Okay, next question we'd like to ask is, do you think that the current online education system is effective?
I think it has so many pros and yet so many cons. I think as an educational tool, it's amazing. Um, Something I have always wanted to do is stop using paper. Teachers print out hundreds of pages of paper per class per day. And when I became a teacher, I'm like, no, I want to do electronic assignments. And something I found out very early on, because I love data, is I found out that if I didn't give an assignment by paper, students were about 20, I think it was like 27% less likely to do the assignment. And I think what online learning, distance learning is doing is it's one, giving the ability for every student to have access to the internet, which is awesome, and a computer. But two, it's showing the world and showing students and kind of showing the older generations that are less tech heavy that the internet is an amazingly useful tool for education, and that if we stop shunning it and we start utilizing it in class, in tests, in homework assignments, in every aspect of education, the process can be so much better and so much more interactive. And I think this pandemic is showing that. And now, do I think online learning is more effective? No. I know that students want to be with their friends, and I know that we can build a better environment where I can communicate better with my students face to face. But I think coming out of the pandemic, we're going to have a much more hybridized version of an education system where online is not just like something you can use, but it's something that will be concurrently used to create a really, really effective learning system for both online and offline. So,
Fourth, there's actually a lot of families that are like financially in need because like their parents or at least one of their parents are like stuck at home because they need to take care of their children, especially like children in elementary school. And like, how do you think we should deal with these students? Help these students, I
I
mean.
I think this is a hard question because I don't think this is something that is put on schools,
Mm.
but it's unfair that it is put on schools. It should be our government's job to take care of these families, provide services, provide stipends for parents that have to lose their jobs to take care of their kids while they're going to school, for families that have to wait hours in food lines and therefore are missing both education or work opportunities. And this is being, I constantly see this as being put on like, how can teachers, how can schools help? But that's the problem. We don't have the resources to help. And families are being broken, and then they're blaming it on the school system for keeping us at home. It's not the school's fault. That's a safety concern. It's very clearly the government's fault and the way that they have mishandled this pandemic. If we just followed the same path as like New Zealand, they haven't had COVID in months. They're outside having barbecues and they can because their government gave people money. They have a good healthcare system, and it's so much more than just a school's job. Yet that's what people are saying it is. which is ridiculous.
So this will be the final question. What are some other changes you like made in this current pandemic? So that can include school, that
Mhm.
like things you haven't said about the school and other things as well.
I think we need more support in all systems. I think students need more social and emotional support. I think teachers need more social and emotional support. I know we see a lot of concern and studies about the students, but like I'm doing okay, but I know a lot of other teachers who are not. And they're struggling, and while they're struggling, they are being told that, hey, stop struggling. You need to focus on your students. But the thing is, teachers are people too. Admin and staff are people too. And yet I don't think I'm not saying stop supporting students. I'm saying we need more support in all aspects. And if we can find ways to support everyone, students, families, communities, that would just be so much better. More open communication. I think that's always clear. And I think that's kind of what a lot of this is about. We need to try and support those who need it and communicate better. And I don't really see that happening. And then I guess lastly, follow science. Come on. I am so tired of talking to people who are concerned about the experimental rushed vaccine. It's not experimental. It is a real vaccine. It was not rushed. It was tested, and they had the money to get tests done. We had a whole world coming together to promote a unified cause. Like, come on. Vaccines work. Science works. Yes, it takes time. Yeah, we said who cares about masks in the beginning because we didn't have data, but then we got data and we changed our models. That's what science does. It doesn't hold facts to be true. It holds them until new data shows otherwise. And then it readapts and evolves to follow the most current and most accurate data. And so people need to realize that and trust in the scientific process. So,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
getting a little preachy at the end. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's
No,
it's
it's
fine.
fine. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
With that being said, please leave what you guys think about these topics in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys in the next one.